Your feeling of helplessness is your best friend, savage.
Like a wise man once said, a man can make a throne of bayonets, but they can't be made to sit in it for very long.
On VidCon, harassment and garbage humans. To kick off the Women Online panel at VidCon last Thursday, the moderator posed the question, why do we still have to talk about the harassment of women?
It's 4 fucking years and she's still talking about online harassment. You gotta admit, for somebody who managed to do what the intellectual equivalent of being a dead horse on top of a dead horse with another dead horse, you'd think she would have gotten over it by now that she's gotten a certain level of harassment.
I replied, because I think one of my biggest harassers is sitting in the front row.
Now this is something I'll be touching on throughout the video, but Anita Sarkeesian thinks that just because I disagree with her or that I'm pointing a different view of her, that I'm somehow harassing her online, which I'm not. And anyway, beside the point, I would actually say, if you're going by bigger, I would say TJ Kirks, aka the Amazing Atheist, is probably just is the biggest disagreeer or critic of Anita Sarkeesian.
He showed up with several others. Together, his group took up the 2 front rows at the panel. Their presence was plainly not, as one of them later said in an apology video he posted to Twitter, to give us the chance we never gave them and to hear us out.
Does Anita Sarkeesian have Jean Grey or Professor X levels of psychic powers? Because if not, they can be there for whatever reason that they wanted to be there. They could have just generally wanted to hear Anita Sarkeesian talk. They could have wanted to post questions. They could have wanted to boo you, but from what I've seen in the videos, they didn't boo you at all. At worst, they did was pose questions to you, which you dodged like a motherfucker.
But was instead to intimidate me and put me on edge.
Wow, Anita Sarkeesian is being intimidating and putting on edge? Fuck me and stop the presses.
They will no doubt plead innocent and act shocked at what they characterize as the outrageousness of such allegations.
And what would you like them to do? Disembowel themselves? Put them at your feet? Castrate themselves? Act like Steve Shives?
This, too, is part of their strategy.
Ooh, they have a strategy now. Let me guess, Anita Sarkeesian used her mind-reading abilities to know what they turned up for. Personally, if I wanted to know why they turned up, I would just simply ask them why they turned up.
Gaslighting, acting in a way intended to encourage me and their other targets to doubt ourselves and to wonder if all of this isn't just in our heads.
If you want my brutal, honest opinion, which why wouldn't you watching this video, that Anita Sarkeesian is being some kind of delusional idiot who thinks that just by putting her pain at the center of the universe, she can validate every single thing that she's done to this point in her life.
But to anyone who examines their patterns of behavior with clear eyes, the intentions of their actions are undeniably apparent.
Oh, that's rich coming from Anita Sarkeesian. Anita Sarkeesian has a ideological goggles fixed so hard onto her head that they're cutting off circulation to her brain. And may I point out, this is a woman who thinks that everything is sexist, everything is homophobic, everything is transphobic, everything is racist, everything is oppressing her to the point where I'm surprised that she hasn't blown her brains out with a shotgun.
Carl is a man who literally profits from harassing me and other women. He makes over $5,000 a month on Patreon for creating YouTube videos that mock, insult and discredit myself and other women online, and he's not alone.
First of all, what's wrong with Sargon of Akkad or any other person making money from video making? May I point out, Anita Sarkeesian has made roughly over $1.5 to $2 million just by playing the victim and making videos on YouTube, which barely looked like they needed any money to be put into them anyway. And furthermore, Sargon of Akkad has a family to support. If you were to cut off his $5,000 a month, lucky bastard, that, you'd be punishing his wife and his kid. You're being a cold-hearted bitch right now. In fact, last time I heard that they were trying to investigate his Patreon account because Anita Sarkeesian doesn't like him. Which, may I point out, Anita Sarkeesian complains about not having any power in society when she can have some person's Patreon investigated because she doesn't like him. Anita Sarkeesian is a fucking idiot. And she's dangerous. And a cunt. And a stupid cunt. And anyway, I'm starting to ramble on a bit.
He is one of several YouTubers who profit from the cottage industry of online harassment and anti-feminism. Together, these people have millions of followers who are regularly encouraged by the videos and tweets of these individuals to harass me and other women who make videos daring to assert the basic humanity of women.
You know what, Mom? You know what I'm going to get you next Christmas? A big wooden cross. So every time you feel unappreciated for all your sacrifices, you can climb on up and nail yourself to it.
People of color, trans folks, and members of other marginalized groups. Because of the constant flood of threats and harassment I have received over the past 5 years simply for being a woman who argues for the basic humanity of women in a deeply misogynistic culture.
Yeah, right. You keep telling yourself that you're fighting for basic human rights. All you ever have done and all you will ever do is complain about first world problems like they're the most essential thing in the whole world. Just because your life lacks personal meaning.
I went for a very long time rarely participating in public conversations.
May I point out, Anita Sarkeesian closes off her comments, and every time that she makes a public appearance is very controlled. In fact, I think this is the first time that I've ever seen Anita Sarkeesian being challenged. And guess what? She immediately closed down the Q&A video for this part as fast as she could have. Because I think it was supposed to last for about 30 minutes, and all they ever did was get to the question 3, and then they closed it all down.
Being a target of cyber mob harassment is a traumatizing experience, though harassers seek to deny this.
Anita Sarkeesian has gone to the UN to complain about the fact that people calling her a liar on a daily basis as a form of online harassment. And by the way, Anita Sarkeesian, you're a liar and a hypocrite. And it was up to me, you'd be given for all your complacency about online harassment. I would have given you military conscription if it was up to me.
One tactic of theirs is to dismiss this very idea, to say that everyone online is treated the same. Everyone online gets called names sometimes.
You're a fucking pedophile, and I wouldn't be surprised if you were a misogynistic rapist.
In fact, there is simply no comparison between being occasionally mocked or insulted online as a male anti-feminist who occupies a position of power in an overwhelmingly sexist.
First of all, there are several things wrong with that statement. One, just because I oppose feminism or because I'm a male, that means I'm inherently more powerful than Anita Sarkeesian. Anita Sarkeesian has been to the UN to talk about the fact that people are calling her a liar, a cheater, a hypocrite, and so on and so forth, that they're just calling her names, which last time I checked isn't that important. And furthermore, she's actually had the FBI investigate her allegations of harassment, which turned out to be bullshit and a bug pile of chips. And furthermore, where's it in that every single Anita Sarkeesian's detractors are all male? Because I could mention 2 off the top of my head. There's Sugar Tits and Liberal Lunacy, and there's also the Honey Badger Radio that are half male and half female, if I recall off the top of my head. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble a bit.
Patriarchal culture, and being a woman who receives a never-ending torrent of abuse while fighting tooth and nail to create an online culture that is a little less misogynistic and a little more equitable.
Bull fucking shit. All Anita Sarkeesian's ever fought for is to have her only voice be the only one online. Personally, I don't want that. I want a certain level of conflict. I want a certain level of meritocracy. I want to know that the best ideas are floating to the top and the bad ideas are floating down to the sinking down to the bottom, which Anita Sarkeesian should be familiar with, considering she's way on her down to the bottom. And in fact, if it wasn't for this online schism, people would have probably forgotten about her by now.
That is itself an act of harassment and intimidation.
You know what, Mom? You know what I'm going to get you next Christmas? A big wooden cross. So every time you feel unappreciated for all your sacrifices, you can climb on up and nail yourself to it.
However, despite the torrent of harassment, I recently made a conscious decision to participate more regularly in panels and conversations at public events, because I wanted to engage with people who show up in good faith to listen to our ideas.
Which is something Anita Sarkeesian should have been doing from day one, not 4 fucking years later. And according to Sargon of Akkad, that's what he was intending to do.
But let me make something very clear. When you have a history of harassing someone for years,
Sargon of Akkad hasn't been harassing him for years. At best, I think you did your Kickstarter, then he made his first video about you a year after you'd done your Kickstarter. In fact, according to your own diction, I've been harassing you for longer, because I did my first video on you about, 3 months before you did your Kickstarter, which was, I think, called Bayonet, Fremis Frequency versus Bayonetta, which I think was my most disliked video on YouTube to date.
and you show up in the front row at their panel with a camera and an entourage. That is not an act of good faith, to put it mildly. That is itself an act of harassment and intimidation.
You weak-minded fool. Oh no! Sargon of Akkad! Somebody who makes videos about me on occasion is in the same room as me. I'm being harassed. I'm being harassment by him. He's gonna do something. He's gonna listen to me. Or he's gonna challenge my point of view. No, I must insult him. Oh, please. You make a phone. You stupid fool. You weak-minded idiot. You hypocrite. You bastard. Dumbass. Fuckface. Jew. No, wait a minute. Anita Sarkeesian is a Jew. She's Armenian. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I was insulting her right now. Where's my script for this part? Oh yeah, insult Anita Sarkeesian for a bit and then end this sentence right now. Okay.
He and his companions were doing this not just to me but to other women as well, women like Kat Black and Francesca Ramsey, so that we all are aware at VidCon that this man who has harassed us and whose hundreds of thousands of followers have attacked us online for years is here, watching us.
Oh no, he's watching me! Please, somebody do something to stop him! You know, I'll throw insults at him. I'll wiggle my fingers at him. I'll go to the UN again and complain about him. Yeah, again, Anita Sarkeesian wants to be the authoritarian on what is a good, strong female character. But yet, she is probably one of the most weak-minded people that I could come across in the entire journey on the internet that I've had. And that's saying a lot considering what I do online.
It's a deliberate act to create an environment that feels hostile, to communicate to us that if and when we dare to show up in public to express the ideas that we express online, the harassment will follow us into the physical world as well.
It's the price that you pay for your fame. It's the price that you pay for having your opinions out there. People will challenge you. And if you don't like it, Anita Sarkeesian, you could always go back to the pit of obscurity that you came from. Nobody forced you into the limelight, Anita Sarkeesian. You did this to yourself. Either build your throne of bayonets and sit in it, or don't complain about it.
Now, he and his followers are acting as if me publicly calling him a garbage human is the equivalent to what he has done to me.
Now, I would say you're about on the same level as each other, swearing at each other and claiming that we're both smarter than each other. Personally, I would settle this whole online harassment problem by giving by throwing you both into a WWE ring and throwing in a Scottish Claymore and saying the person who lives gets to dictate what people can do online. Personally, I would go with Sargon of Akkad because he looks like he could handle himself in a fight. But anyway, that's a bit on the side note.
In truth, he and his followers cannot begin to imagine what it is to have to constantly beg for and fight for your basic humanity in a culture that fundamentally refuses to acknowledge it.
You know what, Mom? You know what I'm going to get you next Christmas? A big wooden cross. So every time you feel unappreciated for all your sacrifices, you can climb on up and nail yourself to it.
He cannot imagine what it is to spend years and years being the target of floods of harassment and hate, and then to still go out there and keep fighting.
Straighten up your own act before whining about the world. Or if that's too much, wear a blindfold, zip your mouth, and live in a cave. Or the alternative...
The companion of his who made that apology video I referenced earlier also tweeted that women are powerful enough to deal with things like workplace harassment to rape. As if power isn't accepting a culture in which women are second-class citizens.
You fucking idiot! You are a fucking idiot. I would tell you extremely how fucking stupid you are, but it would take up the rest of this video just to explain 1% of how stupid you are. You constantly bitch and moan about how you're a second-class citizen. Last time I checked, the second-class citizens don't have a chance to go to the UN to complain about how they're a second-class citizens. Second-class citizens don't have a chance to make $2 million talking about how they're a second-class citizen. They don't get to go to everywhere to Sweden all the way up to Australia just to complain about how they're a second-class citizens. If you'd complained to me offline, I would have considered punching you in the face for this. Because that statement is so fucking stupid now. It's fucking pissing me the fuck off, you fucking idiot.
In which misogyny and workplace harassment and rape are the norm. Fuck that. I'll never settle for that. You're damn right I'm powerful.
Yeah, you're powerful enough that you have to close down your comments. Make sure to stamp out every single piece of that anybody who kind of looks at you funny. Have to go to the UN to explain how powerful you are. Go to Australia to explain how powerful you are. Anita Sarkeesian, you're probably the most weakest person I've ever come across. And that's saying a lot considering the amount of weak individuals I have to step on in my everyday life.
After everything I've been put through by Carl and other men just like him, I'm still powerful enough to go out there and try to change it.
You haven't changed a goddamn thing. All you have done is just lined your pockets by complaining about first world problems, and when people tell you to go fuck yourself, you go crying about it. Anyway, that's the video done. I'll see you on my next video.
Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and donate to me on Patreon.